Alright, this is a review of Superman Earth 1 by J. Michael Straczynski and David and Shine Davis. This is basically a modern version of Superman, the Superman story we all know and love, modernized. There will be spoilers in here, so if you don't want spoilers, uh, excuse me, you might want to turn this off now and come back after you've read it. This is a really good book. I was very worried about this because J. Michael Straczynski is writing a regular Superman book as well, and I was wondering how he was going to make it a little different and things like that. And he finds a way to do it. It's a very good book. I enjoyed it a lot. The artwork in here is very good. I've seen Shine Davis's artwork before, but here it really stands out. He really put his best work into here. The facial expressions and everything are really good. So I'm going to try to be as brief as I can because this book had a lot of information in it, a lot to read, and I don't want to give away too much. But basically the story is Clark Kent is young. He's 20. He's basically trying to figure out what he wants to do with his life. He's fresh out of college. You know, he's done with he's pretty much just decided that he's done with his education for now. And he's going to start looking for different jobs and things like that. You know, basically getting prepared for the real world. So he goes to different things like football. And the coaches are like, "Whoa, what are you doing here? You sure you can play the sport?" And Clark Kent pretty much shows off what he can do and things like that. And the coach is like, "Whoa, okay, this guy definitely is going to get he's definitely going to be in the NFL. So get the papers and everything ready." And Clark is like, he just leaves. He's like, "I'm not interested." And he goes to research and development, and they're looking for a way to derive electricity from salt water. And the guy who works at the research and development department is like, "We're not really looking for any amateurs. We're looking for people who know what they're doing, and we only hire the best students from the university." And Clark pretty much shows that he can do this job by giving the answer to the equation that they're looking for. And he's like, the owner's like, "Hold on, let me get you an application real quick, and you will be hired." And Clark leaves again, pretty much showing that he's really not interested. And he goes off to baseball. He does some baseball, and they show pictures of him doing other different types of things, construction work and whatnot. And then we get to a familiar place, the Daily Planet. Now, in this universe, the Daily Planet isn't as prosperous as it was in the regular universe. It's actually on its deathbed. The company is about to collapse and things like that. So Perry, who pretty much looks the same as the regular universe Perry, nothing really different about him, he gives him a rundown about this. He says he's like, "Clark, I've read your work. You do some good writing, but you don't write from the soul. A journalist always writes from the soul," and things of that nature. And we get introduced to Lois Lane, who looks almost exactly like the chick from Dexter. If anybody who's seen the show Dexter, about the serial killer, Dexter's sister, I think her name is Deb, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's Debbie. I don't know. But Dexter's sister, if you look at her face, she looks almost exactly how Lois is in here. So they probably kind of based her look off that actress. I can't think of her name right now, but she played in Quarantine also. But basically, we're introduced to her, and we get introduced to Jimmy Olsen. Jimmy Olsen in here looks pretty much the same, except he's not as goofy. He's not nearly as nerdy as he is in the regular universe. But in here, he's really kind of an average Joe type of guy who is an up and coming journalist. He's the guy who takes the pictures, goes into the dangerous spots, and gets the pictures for the Daily Planet. And while this is going on, Clark gets an application, and he's like, Perry's like, hey, this is the application. If you get hired, there's no guarantee this job is going to pay as much because we don't know if we're going to be here a year or more. And Clark leaves, and he throws the application out. Again, he's 20 years old. He doesn't know what he wants to do with his life, and he just moves on. And he flies. This is the first time we see him fly in the series. And later on in the story, we get a rundown on how he came to Earth. Now, in this story, they changed it up a little bit. In Earth 1, how he was discovered by Martha and Jonathan Kent was they got the baby out of the ship. They got Clark, but the ship itself was not salvaged. It was salvaged by the military, who now has it, and they're trying to figure out how it works and what this thing is capable of doing and things of that nature. And what happens is later on, Clark is flying. The ship activates, and Clark has a piece of the ship, the shard of the ship, in his apartment that he's living in. In the apartment, and something happens with the ship the part of the ship that he has, and the apartment gets on fire. And Clark is like, "Oh man, that's my apartment!" And he goes in, and he gets the shard of the ship, and he leaves. And while this is happening, no one notices it. They just think that the fire exploded when he went out the window, that the fire just exploded the window, and things of that nature. And what happens is it starts to react, and Clark's eyes glow blue, and he falls to the ground. And that's basically where we get the glimpse of how Jonathan and Martha Kent told him about his past and things of that nature. And later on, we're introduced to a new villain. There's an alien invasion, which is kind of cliche. I mean, nothing really new about that. But the villain in here is new. We've never seen this guy before. Tyrell. He looks kind of like this. I don't know. He looks like Sting from the WWF. He looks like Sting from WWF Federation. If you guys know what the wrestler is, who the wrestler is, you know exactly who I'm talking about. He kind of looks like that. And basically, he's looking for Clark. He's like, the people of Earth, I'm going to destroy your planet unless you hand over the person I'm looking for, which is Clark, of course. And eventually Clark shows himself, and they have a fight. And he tells him why his planet, what happened to Krypton, his home planet, that it wasn't an accident, it was actually an assassination. And Krypton and the planet Deron, which is Tyrell's home planet, they've been at war for a while because they wanted each other's technology. The Deron race had technology the Kryptonians wanted. The Kryptonians had technology the Deron race wanted. And they get to fighting, and eventually he's defeated. Tyrell is defeated, and he's like, you didn't. He basically tells Clark, you didn't get the whole story of how this happened. And there was a deal made on why Krypton was assassinated by a Kryptonian, and the Deron race pretty much went to Krypton and blew it up. Now, the guy who made a deal with the Deron race was probably Zod. I'm guessing it's Zod, but they don't say it. But if you know about the Superman universe, you know it's probably Zod or Brainiac. Could be either one of those two, because they were both a part of Clark's home world. And anyway, they get the first story on Superman. Jimmy Olsen is the first to take a picture of Superman and things of that nature. And everybody's talking about Superman. They're talking about him like this guy who is this guy? What's he about? Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Some people like the idea of Superman. Some people hate him. We get to see they have references of different comic book writers. Like they draw a picture of Dan Didio, who's in here. He's got a hat on. He looks exactly like him. Just another compliment to Shane Davis's artwork. And without giving away too much, the story ends with Clark at the... I guess this is supposed to be like this version of the Fortress of Solitude. They don't say that. And he's at the ship. The ship is now in his possession. And he's basically telling them... He's basically asking his ship, tell me who I am and what I'm supposed to do and everything. And Jimmy's looking to get another picture of Superman. And he's like, I got it. Superman flies by them and he's like, I got the picture. And it ends like that. This is really good. If you want to know about Superman, if you're not really a big Superman fan, you want to kind of get a modern version of him, definitely pick this up. I give this a solid 9 out of 10 because I was kind of hoping that they would come up with something new with his secret identity, because they basically just go back to the glasses thing. And when he smiles, the picture when he's smiling with the glasses on, he looks exactly like Matt Fraction. I'm not kidding. But that's it. I enjoyed this a lot. Definitely pick it up. And I am done. Also, at the end of the book, I want to add something. There's an article about Superman in the newspaper. You might want to read that too. I didn't read it at first when I first read it. I read it twice. I read it yesterday when I first got it, and I read it again at work when I was on break. I read bits and pieces of it, I should say. I didn't read the whole thing on break. But I definitely say read that as well. That's a really good article, and it seems like a real article too. They did a good job of setting that up. I thought that was very neat. So again, check this book out. It's really good. I enjoyed it a lot. I'm looking forward to the other Earth 1 books like Batman Earth 1 and see how those turn out. This is a graphic novel. This is what I call a graphic novel here. It wasn't released in single issues. It was a one and done story. And I really like this format of how comics are being written. I really like this a lot. You get a lot of information. You get a lot of things. You don't have to worry about running out of, running out of time and space when writing these type of stories. So, again, that is it. I will leave it at that, and hope you enjoyed Superman Earth 1 as much as I did.